Hey guys. All right. Thanks. Thanks for doing that. So, whoops, my bad. So welcome to what I hope is a unique experience. I don't know, maybe you've done it before in another class, but for me, just trying to push to make a class an experience rather than just another thing to like get through. You know what I mean? So, so we welcome any parents who are watching. Hello. If you're watching, parents, let us know if we're not being loud enough, and we'll try to do that. Be louder. And parents, just make sure if you're watching to use the TodaysMeet for conversation, then we can look at your comments or your questions or anything like that. But students, I mean, mostly, I mean, we don't know if any parents are going to chime in or not, so it's really just up to us. I thought I'll just give my own 2 cents on this. I thought the article was interesting, that maybe there's this change in this really important process that's going to be starting for you in the next, few months, I guess. But the article is actually encouraging some sort of longer period of time, right? That it's almost, instead of maybe a sprint, it's as a matter of fact, that's some of the language, isn't it, of the article? Instead of having a mission be a sprint, it's a jog. What do you think? So, with most of our Socratic circles, it should be more your voices, but I can't help myself if the conversation is good. So, how you feeling about the article, about application process, about any of this stuff?
I feel like I can really mix feelings if I had to do it. It's like, I'm definitely no artist. Like, we like draw stuff with pens. Like, I like the idea of getting them, like, them getting to see their own perspective. But like, I feel like if you're on the pressure, like, I cannot be a stick person.
Is that okay? That was the impression you got, is like, well, now I need to draw things, or now I need to, okay.
I got like like just kind of doing that one extra step to show what you do. Not necessarily like you have to do this drawing thing. Like maybe in like an essay or something. I don't know. Showing what you do outside of just school, to show that you're a well-rounded student. That'll make you more, like they'll be more likely to accept you.
I think that the college application process, like right now, is pretty basic. You turn in your SAT or ACT scores, you do an essay or whatever. And from the article I got, they wanted it to be more creative process, I think. Like, I think for the first page, there was an example of a girl that was drawing, I think, and then they were talking about technology. But I think they wanted it to be like more of a creative process to show that you said like how well-rounded of a person you are. That's kind of what I got from it.
What if that move is made? Is that, yeah, let's talk about, is that good or is that bad? So certainly that's the article is saying, yeah, we want to show what you've done, right? And to kind of see what was the line, not a perfect, I forget what the line is, not a perfect person, but I can't remember, but just who you are. You don't have to be perfect, And so is that the right move?
I feel like that takes pressure off standardized testing, which is really important, because sometimes I feel like the application is only about your score on that test, and then you get more of the opportunity to show that you're more than just a number.
Keep going, man.
Skylar about like SAT needs to be really stressful and having how what she's talking about would take off stress. And I also think it would show like other things you do, like extracurricular activities, maybe like drama or theater and band, sports, I guess. I don't know. But stuff like that could be included too more, I guess, instead of just how smart you are.
They did bring up how the virtual locker idea would be hard for students that didn't have access to computers all the time. Over there, maybe.
I think the government just needs to put more emphasis on education. I feel like for those areas or the people who can't like afford it or have access to it, I feel like they should like make it so they have access. I feel like the government should put more emphasis on educating all than just educating those who listen.
Great. I mean, that sounds idyllic. How's that accomplished? I mean, okay, let's like fascinating. How is that not happening now, and how could that or should that be happening later? And how does access to technology play into that, which I think they all sort of work together actually.
Well, countries like Finland or they have free education and they are leading in a lot of areas for like test scores and everything. So I mean that would be one solution.
What's that?
I think making a free education would help like so that it's accessible to everybody, not just for it. Which then can give them like the access to the computers and just because if the government made education free, then the students would have more access to things like computers or numbers if they could do things through the application. So then test scores, so that not everything is just test scores.
I think part of it is support from outside things. I guess okay, my parents went for chemicals. Chemicals is not been like a very good school, very low graduation rates, and families aren't as supportive, I think, as families here. And like the people in Grand Rapids don't want to, like, we just got bond passed here. Like, they're trying there to get bond passed and don't want to. So I guess thinking about stuff like that too, like getting people involved and making them understand how important education is can also be a huge factor into
Essential, I'd say. So Fruitport, just as a kind of an awareness issue, Fruitport is also suffering from loss after loss after loss in their bond proposals, and so, yeah, you know, somebody if a parent knows, they can correct me, but I think there have been 2 in the last 2 years that failed. We're going for a 3rd year in the spring, or fall, maybe, I'm not sure, it might be in the fall now. And it's huge. And I think we don't, I mean, I wasn't anticipating saying this, but I think we don't value actually that community parent piece as much as it's essential.
it's really good. Like my parents will talk about it, how just like for example how great Spring Lake is because of the community and how we did the first time, the second time, and how just in some schools, not just theirs, but just the
the caring level, I guess it's, I don't know how to say it, but.
But when you think about that, like so I know we're going away from the article here, but that's fine, we can kind of swing back to it. When you think about what does that mean, right? Bond acceptance, and the acceptance of a bond means, yes, I'm willing to pay more in taxes in order to have this experience for children, not even my children, right? I mean, yes, my children, but I mean, a lot of people are even voting on it if it doesn't involve their own children. I'm okay to pay more for the value of the community and the benefit of it. What a huge message that is, right? That we all have our Chromebooks that are just given to us, right? I know there's plenty to argue about the Chromebooks, but the fact that they said we value it, we see it, and saying we'll all pay for this to happen. But we hear a lot of negatives about that idea, right? So maybe that's what's happening in Kennewick Hills, where it's like, well, I need to hold on to my money. I can't, right? So it's that.
Yeah, I mean, I think they did just get Chromebooks too, and that was huge.
Yeah.
Like, that was really big for them because money is tight there. I mean, I'm sure also some of that problems sometimes too, but I don't know. It's just cool. I mean, not cool, but it's interesting to see the difference in school districts.
Yeah.
And I guess that all ties into the article about how some kids aren't able to have computers, so they can't do the applications as well as someone who has that technology.
You all wrote 3 questions in preparation for today. If you'd like to look at those, just for a thought, you can do that.
Would anybody like do that creative application? Like, do you think it will involve our generation, like the class of 2017 this fall, when they applied? Like, how that affects you?
Well, I'm planning going to try to apply to like arts colleges. So like my application is kind of an audition. So it's going to be not just like the application, but an audition. So that's kind of different.
I think it kind of depends on what you're going into.
Yeah.
Honestly, like if you're going into engineering, you can't really send up a video of yourself
Singing.
engineering.
No, of course you can. Sure you can. Sketching ideas, thinking about things. Like, sure you can. I mean, I get it. I get that it's like,
Watch me solve this calculus problem.
yeah, yeah. Why not? Right? Like, here's this really complex thing, and this is the way that I think about it, and this is what's happening in my brain. Those kind of reflective. I know that at the front. I know that at the front, it's like, well, you can't do this for these things. But I'd argue that wholeheartedly.
I don't
Like,
know if a video is the most effective way to measure talent because you can practice something for so long, but like if it was a live audition, I don't know. Videos, I don't know. No, I was saying that they were good. I don't know.
So then I kind of have a question about that. So you don't think the video is necessarily the way to go? Are the standardized test scores any better of an indicator?
No, I don't know.
I mean, I'm just curious.
Yeah, I don't have an answer.
I think like a test is like a good way to showcase what you know, who you are. just because I get a 12 on that ACT, stupid. That's are rigged. They're
Ask you
designed
questions, yeah.
to mess with your mind.
But in some cases, would a creative test work? Like, I'm thinking about going into biology and maybe even like forensics. Like, how could I do something creative with biology? Or like,
Yeah, that's what I was gonna
Invent
say.
weird species.
I don't remember exactly what it was, but my mom was telling me she's a curriculum director at Oak Ridge. So she was at a conference on Tuesday, and they were talking something about like getting college credits. Like it was just an idea at this big conference. I don't remember exactly, but something about getting credits, like because I had like a ton of AP bio this week, and like mom's really hard, like why am I doing this? Like I should have dropped it. And she's like, well, I was at this meeting and it really made me think of you because they talked about for biology rather than sitting in class and like learning about all the systems of the body or learning about the ecosystems, that these students go out and for like a semester they focus on one of those ideas, so like the body, and they go and do those things, and they go to a hospital and they'll like go and work with people, and then they'll like do all this stuff to earn the credits for everything that you learn in class. You go out and do in the real world instead, or like the ecosystems when you like learn about the different invertebrates. You go out and you like find them, dissect them, and find like stuff, and then they were like something about getting college credits for it. So going out into the world and doing it rather than sitting behind a wall.
And then like taking the AP test,
And
which
then-
is like if you have to get this score,
Yeah, 'cause
or else
that's
you
what
won't get a credit, or else everything that you've just been, you could be,
So then you're just screwed.
yeah, like I'm gonna use AP Calc. I was in AP Calc. I dropped it because like I understand it a little, but like I knew the AP test wasn't even gonna be worth it. So I just dropped it. And like I know kids who understand, like do you understand anything that's going on?
No, but I'm taking it.
That's ballsy.
Not like, not AP, but through like, because I have no idea what's going on.
And like
We be taking the test. They'll take
yeah,
the
I'm
test.
still taking the test, but I'm taking,
See, then take
so you
the-
don't have to take it. Yeah.
So because then this way you
Yeah,
can guarantee the
exactly.
credits and you don't have to take an AP test.
And like in college, you'll go out and do things like that. I feel like you won't just always. I don't know. I don't want to always sit behind a desk.
Well, at least in where I am in college, there's always labs. There are lectures and there are tests and there is reading, but every science class has a lab that accompanies it where you have to be involved, and every class has some sort of project that you have to accomplish in the real world.
Because then they don't test on it. Your test is going out and doing it in the world rather than coming back, going to do it, and then coming back to take a test on it.
It's true.
It's like you get to go do it without the test, and it just shows that you've like grown as a person, grown as this, grown as that, and then there's no test behind it.
And I feel like the hands-on activity, like reading a book, you don't understand everything. You memorize, but you don't understand. Like if you go out and do something, and you get it wrong, then you're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have killed that person. You know, it's like it's you gotta fix things. You gotta start understanding it. You know, like, oh, shit. If I wouldn't have done this,
Then it would have turned out different.
then it would.
So the next time I try this, I won't do this.
Exactly.
I mean, that's.
But like if I
It is what it
memorize,
is.
if I memorize a fact and I memorize something is true when it should be false, I get it wrong on the test, and I'm like, oh well, I got it wrong. That's it.
Then if you have to go and apply it to the world and you get it wrong, you have to fix it.
Yeah. So we're skipping a step. We skip getting it wrong on the test. and we won't kill that person in real
So
life.
are you claiming that reading is pointless in an English class?
I didn't say,
I know,
in a biology
I'm
class,
just teasing.
it's not necessarily pointless, but it's sometimes redundant if you just don't do anything. So, you know,
I know that I felt like Sam's question was I'd like to address your question about what am I supposed to do, make a video about my interest in biology, right? Here's what I think the article is stating is, no. It's not about biology, it's about you, the video. And I don't even know that it's a demanding video. I mean, I think it's just like, what have you created? And can you, what are you doing what are you doing, right, with your life, as it is now? That doesn't mean it has to be perfect. So I would change that question. How do I show in a video my love of biology? I'd say the school wants to see who they're getting, right? So if you can show yourself in any media as curious, hardworking. I mean, what are some of the other attributes that a college would like to see, do you think, that aren't scored on a test? So leadership, curiosity.
Well, how do you know that someone else isn't behind that helping the kid? Like, you know what I mean?
exactly.
That's
That's the thing about the videos.
They could get so much help and then look like an excellent student and then get screwed up at college. That's what I was trying to say.
Like if I want to go into modeling and I take a picture of myself with a 12 pack,
That's like a live thing. Like you would have, it has to be more like audition-y or like
address,
webcam.
Taylor Rocks.
I don't know. You can't have someone else behind it because then you don't know. Yeah, I feel like how much they got. Easily, right? Yeah.
Interesting. And you can do that with an iPhone now.
Yeah.
I could create an explosion that explodes the school if I wanted to. Could I post it and be like, whoa, this just happened? Yeah.
Sid Sabo.
Sid Sabo.
Let's
And
talk
he
about somebody. Let's talk about somebody specific. Sid Sabo is masterful. He is
so good.
masterful. And he is going to go on, I mean, I don't know where he's going. I actually don't know where he's going to go. But if he shows what he has done, what he has made, how his brain functions, I don't know how any college wouldn't be like, oh my God, please, we beg you, come to us.
He should have like applied to Julia, or not Julia, Interlochen or something.
But it's,
Question, what are they doing?
Yeah.
Sid has amazing, he makes movies. And they're outstanding, and they're funny, and they're silly, but then they're also somehow like twisted to be terrific and wonderful.
Like
And
on YouTube.
Yes.
Video or something.
yes, on YouTube, yeah.
So special effects are just amazing.
He uses special effects. And those are the types of things, right? That's the kind of thing that you'll never see. Like, I don't know how he would be able to do that. Like, to show that on an application without getting in to the admissions office and saying, like, by the way, you need to see what I have done. And once they see that, I don't know how anyone could deny it. I really don't.
Maybe the media needs to reflect the talent you're trying to showcase, or the part of you that you're trying to showcase. So if you're trying to get into a school with art, you send a portfolio of drawings, or you send a video of a monologue or a scene. But then it does get trickier for things that are less easily visible, that it takes time. But yeah, I think the thing we're getting a little caught up on is the idea of majors. I mean, you're not trying to get into that department, you're trying to get into that school, right?
So here's what let's use somebody in the classroom. Al, can I use you as a sample? Who cares if you want to go into school for art or not? But if you're not showing the school your art, that's a mistake. Like, even if you want to go into environmental science, to say, look at how I spend my time. Look at my creations. Look at what I can do when I put my attention and focus on a thing, right? Honestly, like, that's what those pieces of art show me. It's like time. When you're invested, Alex will produce, right? Like if you're invested, I'll produce. Like that's outstanding, right? So that kind of thing goes, well, geez, that'll apply to anything. That'll apply anywhere. And I think that to me, that's what the article's screaming for. Is like, show us your passion. Show us where you care. Show us where you're a leader, or where you're curious, or where you're thoughtful, or where you're caring, or where you're right. And that's going to help if you're SAT or ACT or whatever score they're using to make judgments. That will trump those scores. No doubt about it. I mean, I'm so confident. I mean, the schools that are doing it, what schools are doing this?
It didn't say.
Yes, it does. There's a whole coalition of schools.
It said like 100 schools and then some Ivy League.
But then, oh, okay, well, okay, all right, thank you. So some Ivy League schools are up to 100 schools. Do any of the schools you're looking at, out of curiosity, have, I don't know if you've gone, is that my phone? Not sure you've gone down this path. If anybody's watching, just hang tight. Hello, it's David. Oh, okay, thank you. Hey, next. Nope, I'm good. Thank you. I'm good. You can give it back to him. Thank you. Bye-bye. I forget where I was, but are any of you down this road far enough to know, like, what?
I haven't looked into any application process for any schools. I looked at the names, I looked at the departments, so I haven't looked at applications. I follow that up.
Great, yeah, it's right in front of you, you know. What's that? No, maybe not.
Well,
I mean, you'll probably apply in the fall, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've got enough time, I think. I'm sure it'll catch up with me. But, I mean, I'm not writing my college essays right now.
No.
Just try.
Yeah, why would you? Yeah, I agree.
Anybody else? Anybody done any applications?
I'm in the process right now of part of the foundation learning, and they don't have anything like that.
Do they have any, such as ACT, SAT? Because I've heard some schools are going optional with those things, or I don't know. I mean, I know some are. I know that the school.
Well, I'm gonna take like 3 out of 10, so I'm not that deep into it. So far, it's just kind of the basic, my contact information and everything. But I know the next page is ACT, SAT.
Yeah.
Beyond that, I don't know what they ask, pages 5 to 10. But I do, like, they ask for your SAT and that, but it's a Christian school, so they care more about, like, your leadership and your faith than they do with your test grades, which is really cool for me, at least.
Go ahead, Maggie. You were like ready. It was at your lips.
Are they saying that this is like an alternative, like completely like all test scores, or is it just an add-on?
Can you comment, readers?
I don't know if letting go of test scores is completely like good plan. Because if we look back to a very reliable source, Legally Blonde.
Yeah.
Regarding Harvard, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Due to a video. So I don't know if I mean, she did well in the end. But
I feel like eventually they'll cut off test scores. I feel like right now it's a work in progress. I think it's a really like there's an idea in like our country. I feel like maybe like 20 years on the road, test scores really won't be as much of a thing. But I feel like for right now it is.
I think it's a blend for now. Yeah.
I feel like it will become more like, I don't know if vocational is the word, but like more centered on what each person wants to go into with test scoring. At least I don't feel like test scores will go away, but it won't be as standardized, and like everyone will not have the same test maybe.
Yeah, yeah.
Question about those tests then, if they're not standardized, how do you compare the scores against each other?
Will there be like categories for each like group of what you want to go into or something? Those kind of.
I gotcha.
The only problem with that is if you look at like how many people switch their major, you know.
So this is very generally speaking. I know the Swiss system of education more than I know any other, but sort of through my exchange student last year, we had lots of talks about how that functions. Talked about the German system a bit. So who had referenced Finland? Yes. Okay. So Annie, that kind of split or about how do they is that there's layers of where you want to go, even as young students. Okay. So like if you're here in IB class, you know, you're working at a certain level, you're going to be pushed into, right? It's assumed you're going to university and all that. But at a very young age, you might make decisions based on tests and or other things. They might go to other avenues, more like a vocational school, but that you wouldn't all then end up in the same building or the same school getting the same education. That makes sense. So that's another way. I think that's how they do the differentiation or the changes at a much younger age. Whereas we're like, let's go together, and then at college or not, you can sort of figure out in what direction you're going to go. Even like nurses. So nurses, right? You go to school and you get good. You know, that's kind of a good job, right? You can make a career as a nurse. Aren't in that university track. They're in a different track or a vocational track, at least in Switzerland they are. So it's an interesting, like they start splitting into other directions earlier than we do. So in regards to why are we all testing on the same thing about the same thing for what purpose, I think that speaks to that. It's like, yeah, in Europe they don't, right? You would only test ACT, SAT if you're that university bound. Any final thoughts?
So I've looked at like in colleges and then their acceptance rates. And that it gets me thinking, what can I do to be the top 4%? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like Juilliard, they only accept between 2 and 6% every year. That's not a lot. And like that's like, yeah, it's up there.
Yeah.
That's cool. So
That's what's in your brain. What are you going to do to stand out? What are you going to show them about yourself? See, I'm so worried about that in a standard. How do you stand out? Personally, I'd be desperate for what are they calling this? A digital locker room? I don't want to just be lost, and I want to prove that I'm amazing. I'd like to prove that to you rather than just have paper show that to you, right? I'd like to show you my art. I'd like to somehow show you that I care passionately about biology. Maybe have a discussion with a biology teacher you love, or maybe have and just talk about it, be passionate about it, or give them some slides to a presentation you're curious about, or comment on TED Talks, or what did you do, Megan? Which I thought was so beautiful in the IOP, where you watching you just watch a lecture about and have that record you watching it, recording it. That was so engaging. What a beautiful way to that's still with me. Do you remember this? I don't know for any of you who were with Meg.
It was the comedians, and they reacted to watching comedians. It was canvassing, but
yeah. So it was just to be more clear. There was so I don't know. There's you had a camera on them.
Yeah.
They were watching comedians. so you're getting feedback or response. Like, that would be amazing, Sam. I mean, honest to God, I think you watching like a lecture on biology would be like, and you could even pause it and go like, oh, that just blew my mind, you know? And show them your own fascination or interest. Like, gorgeous, gorgeous, and totally different than other people, right? How are you going to separate yourself, you know? Becomes really important. If you just trust paper, I wouldn't trust paper. I guess that's like, I wouldn't want to trust paper alone. I like my own energy.
Yeah, and that's like, and on paper, I'm kind of a boring kid. But I'm hoping that the audition would be like, it's not boring.
So that audition is going to need lots of time.
Yeah.
And energy. Do you know for Juilliard, are you do you do portfolio videos too, as well on top of it, or is it just an audition?
I'm assuming just an audition.
Yeah. All right. Anything else? What's that? What's that? Make a wish. Cam wishes to be done. Let's be done. All right.